Sergio Perez's 2024 season was a total nightmare. Back in 2021, Perez was hailed as the perfect partner for Red Bull's dominant resurgence.
Fantastic recovery there, Checo. Fantastic.
A driver who could challenge the best and deliver under pressure. Fast forward to today, and he's a shadow of that man, finishing the 2024 season a staggering 285 points behind his teammate Max Verstappen. Perez's career has been a roller coaster, filled with struggles, moments of brilliance, and even heartbreaks. He's fought harder than most to prove he belongs in F1, so why now, after all that perseverance, does it feel like everything is slipping through his fingers? What happened to the Checo that defied the odds? This is the untold truth of Sergio Perez's F1 career. When you see Sergio Checo Perez in the cockpit of a Red Bull Formula 1 car today, it's easy to forget the extraordinary journey that brought him here. The struggles, the sacrifices, and the unwavering determination of a boy from Guadalajara, Mexico, who dared to dream of racing at the pinnacle of motorsport. Like many racing stories, Perez's journey began in karting back in 1996. From the moment Perez gripped a steering wheel, it was clear he had the spark of something special. But talent alone isn't enough in motorsport, especially for someone from a country like Mexico. You see, Mexico was a country with a racing heritage tied more to IndyCar than Formula 1. But Perez wasn't interested in taking the well-trodden path. He had his eyes firmly set on Formula 1. However, achieving that dream required massive financial backing, something not easily accessible for a young driver from Guadalajara. And that financial support came from Carlos Slim's Escuderia Telmex program. The support they provided became a cornerstone of Perez's early career, giving him the resources to chase his dreams. Yet, even with financial backing, success was far from guaranteed. Perez had to fight for every opportunity, proving his worth at every step. And that journey meant leaving behind the comforts of home far earlier than most aspiring racers. In 2004, at just 14 years old, Sergio Perez took a leap of faith that would define his life. Boarding a flight to Germany, he left behind the familiarity of home and the comfort of his family to pursue his dream of racing in Europe. But this wasn't a move wrapped in luxury or cushioned by grand expectations. No, this was raw survival, a sink or swim test that would either make or break him. Perez's new reality was a far cry from the glamour we associate with Formula 1. He found himself living in a modest room above a restaurant owned by his team manager, racing in the highly competitive Formula BMW series. He didn't speak English, let alone German, and every day became a struggle, not just on the track, but off it. Homesickness weighed heavily on him, and the cultural isolation was palpable. The dream was vivid, but the road to it was grueling and unforgiving. Despite the challenges, Perez endured. 2 hard-fought years in Germany tested his mental and emotional resilience. Every setback and every lonely night only strengthened his determination to succeed, and succeed he did. By 2007, Perez was ready for the next chapter, moving to England to compete in British Formula 3 with the T-Sport team. England, with its rich motorsport culture, provided a fresh start. More importantly, it gave Perez a family-like environment where he could thrive. The results spoke for themselves. In the National Class Championship, Perez dominated, winning 2/3 of the races and securing the podium in nearly every event. This was more than just racing, it was a statement. Checo was proving he belonged on the international stage. The following year, he stepped up to the international class, racing against tougher competition. Though his car was powered by a less competitive Mugen Honda engine, Perez's talent shone. He led the championship in the early stages and finished 4th overall, a performance that caught the attention of teams in GP2, which was the final stepping stone to Formula 1. Joining GP2 was a historic moment for Mexican motorsport. Not since Giovanni Aloy's Formula 3000 campaign in 1990 had a Mexican driver reached this level. Perez wasn't content to simply be there, he wanted to win. Racing in the GP2 Asia Series for Campos Grand Prix, he delivered a stunning victory at Sarkia, leading from pole to the checkered flag. He followed it up with another triumphant performance under the floodlights in Qatar, showing not only his speed, but his adaptability. That momentum carried over into the main GP2 series, where Perez's move to Barwa Addicts in 2010 was a game changer. He took the fight to the championship's biggest names, winning 5 races and finishing a close second in the standings to Pastor Maldonado. By the end of the season, it was clear to everyone. Sergio Perez wasn't just knocking on Formula One's door, he was ready to kick it wide open, and that was exactly what he did. In the autumn of 2010, it was announced that Sauber had signed the young and ambitious Sergio Perez for the 2011 Formula One season. At just 20 years old, Perez stepped into the elite ranks as only the 5th Mexican driver in Formula One history. From the moment the season kicked off, it was clear he wasn't going to let the opportunity slip. His debut at the Australian Grand Prix was nothing short of extraordinary. In a race where strategy often makes the difference between a stellar result and an average one, Perez pulled off something unheard of for a newcomer. He managed his tyres so skillfully that he was the only driver to make a one-stop strategy work, finishing 7th. That was impressive. Unfortunately, the celebration didn't last. Sauber's car failed a post-race technical inspection, and Perez's result was disqualified. Yet, even as the record books erased that 7th place finish, they couldn't erase the impression he left. F1 had gained a young driver with raw talent, razor-sharp instincts, and a rare ability to stretch the performance of his car beyond its limits. Perez officially scored his first points later that season in Spain, finishing 9th and outperforming his teammate Kamui Kobayashi. But while the numbers began to roll in, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Formula One has a way of reminding its drivers that glory comes hand in hand with danger, and for Perez, that lesson came at the Monaco Grand Prix. During the final moments of qualifying, he misjudged the treacherous tunnel section of the circuit, and his car veered out of control, smashing into the barrier with a force that sent it careening across the track and into another wall. The crash left him with a concussion and a sprained thigh, sidelining him from the Monaco race and forcing him to miss most of the following weekend in Canada. But Perez wasn't one to stay down for long. By the European Grand Prix, he was back in the cockpit, determined to prove his resilience. His rookie season ended with a modest tally of 14 points. Not groundbreaking, but enough to show that he belonged in the sport. If 2011 was about learning the ropes, 2012 was about breaking them. Perez's second season was nothing short of a breakout year, one that earned him the nickname the Mexican Wunderkind. The Malaysian Grand Prix was a turning point, a race that forced the paddock to sit up and take notice. In torrential rain and tricky conditions, Perez chased down Ferrari's Fernando Alonso, a 2-time world champion, like a man possessed. For a brief, tantalizing moment, victory seemed within reach. A small mistake near the end saw him finish second. But the statement had been made. Perez was a force to be reckoned with. This wasn't a one-off. He followed up with jaw-dropping performances in Canada, where he climbed from 15th on the grid to a podium finish, and in Monza, where he stormed through the field from 12th to 2nd, passing the likes of Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen with surgical precision. These races showcased his uncanny ability to manage tyres and execute bold, yet calculated overtakes. It wasn't long before the big teams came calling, and by the end of the year, McLaren had signed him to replace the Mercedes-bound Lewis Hamilton. Joining McLaren in 2013 seemed like a dream come true. Perez found himself partnering Jenson Button, a former world champion, in one of the most prestigious teams in F1 history. But dreams often clash with reality, and for Perez, the reality was brutal. McLaren's car was painfully uncompetitive that season, and tensions simmered between him and Button. Perez's aggressive style, while thrilling to watch, ruffled feathers. Button openly criticised him, calling some of his moves dirty, while an incident with Raikkonen in Monaco led to the Finn's infamous remark that someone should punch him in the face. Despite the struggles, Perez soldiered on, scoring 49 points over the season. But McLaren wasn't patient, and their partnership with Perez lasted just 1 year. That was unexpected. Speaking of unexpected turns, just like Checo's career, you never know what crazy F1 stories we'll cover next. If you're loving this deep dive into F1's most dramatic careers, Smash that subscribe button now, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss our next video. Let's move on. For many drivers, such a high-profile setback might have been career-ending. For Perez, it was merely a detour. In 2014, he joined Force India, signing a lucrative deal to partner Nico Hülkenberg. The move proved transformative. Perez immediately delivered, securing a podium in Bahrain, and that was Force India's first since 2009. But his season wasn't without drama. A last-lap collision with Felipe Massa in Canada led to a penalty, and questions about his consistency lingered. Over the next few years, Perez silenced those doubts. His performances steadily improved, and by 2016, he had achieved a career-best 7th place finish in the Drivers' Championship with 101 points. The arrival of Esteban Ocon in 2017 brought new challenges. The two clashed frequently on track, with memorable incidents in Canada and Baku, but Perez's results spoke louder than the controversies. Force India's transformation into Racing Point in 2018 brought new opportunities for Sergio Perez, but it wasn't until 2020 that Perez stunned the F1 world. After contracting COVID-19 and missing 2 races, Perez returned to a bombshell. He would be replaced for the 2021 season. For many, such news would have been devastating. For Perez, it became the ultimate motivator. At the Sakhir Grand Prix, Perez delivered what many now regard as one of the most iconic comeback drives in Formula One history. On the very first lap, a collision sent him spinning to the back of the grid. From dead last, Perez launched an audacious charge through the field, overtaking car after car with determination and skill. By the time the checkered flag fell, Perez stood victorious, claiming his first ever Formula One win. It had taken 190 races, but perseverance had finally propelled him to the top step of the podium. Red Bull took notice of his performance and signed him for the 2021 season to partner Max Verstappen. For Perez, it was both an opportunity and a challenge. Being Verstappen's teammate meant stepping into one of the most demanding roles in the sport. But Perez embraced it, delivering crucial performances like his defensive masterclass against Lewis Hamilton in the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, a moment that earned him the nickname Mexican Minister of Defense. His efforts helped Verstappen clinch his first World Championship. Yet, the story doesn't end there. The 2022 season brought new highs and fresh challenges. Perez achieved his highest ever finish in the championship, taking 3rd place, and won the iconic Monaco Grand Prix. But as Red Bull continued to develop their car, it increasingly suited Verstappen's driving style, and Perez found himself playing second fiddle. By 2023, the gap between the two drivers had grown. Perez began the season strong, with wins in Saudi Arabia and Azerbaijan, but his form dipped dramatically. A stretch of 5 races without making it into Q3 in qualifying was particularly concerning, especially in a car as dominant as the Red Bull RB19. Though he secured second in the championship, marking Red Bull's first 1-2 finish in the standings, the gulf between his 285 points and Verstappen's 575 was impossible to ignore. In 2024, the gap between Perez and Verstappen remained largely unchanged, with Perez finishing the season a massive 285 points behind his teammate. While Verstappen cruised to his 4th F1 title, Perez's struggles to maintain consistency became glaring. His performance was far below the expectations set for a driver in a team with Red Bull's dominant car. The last time Perez finished on the podium was at the Chinese Grand Prix, all the way back in April. Even worse, he hasn't secured a top 5 finish since round 6 in Miami. To make matters even more humiliating, Zhou Guanyu from Sauber, who had 0 points through the first 22 rounds, outscored Perez in the past 5 races. By the end of the season, Perez finished in 8th place, making him the lowest ranked driver from any of the top teams. This dramatic drop in form has raised serious questions about his future with Red Bull. Perez's future at Red Bull is now shrouded in uncertainty. As of the making of this video, no official decision has been made regarding his status, though the likelihood of him being replaced seems high. Perez himself has confirmed that discussions about his future are underway, with both himself and Red Bull acknowledging that talks are taking place about potential replacements. Red Bull's unique situation of having 4 contracted drivers on the grid only adds to the pressure. Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson, both part of the Red Bull stable, will no doubt be eyeing that seat. Tsunoda, after testing for Red Bull following the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, is eager to prove his worth. However, Lawson could be in a stronger position to secure a full-time seat, having impressed with his performances throughout the season. No doubt Sergio Perez has fallen from glory, but for those who know his story, it's clear that Perez is no stranger to adversity. Sergio Perez has proven time and time again that he thrives under pressure. From a teenager chasing his dreams to a man who conquered adversity at every turn, Perez's journey is far from over. Whether he reclaims the form that once made him the Mexican Minister of Defense or writes a new chapter, one thing is certain: Sergio Perez is a fighter, and his story is far from finished.